All right. I do
This is
believe.
streaming. I got a
What was
message.
that?
It says it's streaming on Facebook.
Excellent. Okay, so we are streaming live now, and I am not going to be monitoring Facebook at the moment. So if anybody posts any comments over there, we won't actually see it right now. So let me, when Jeannie gets back, she will probably jump on. But if you are joining us on Facebook, feel free to leave a message and let us know that you're there, and we can pop in and check on you a little later. But I see quite a few of you are on joining us on Zoom, which is great. So yeah. All right. Well, welcome. I am Andrea Anderson, president of Productive Environment Institute. And I am joined here today, of course, by our beloved Barbara Hemphill. And today's topic is the 5 divine secrets of a global productivity expert. And Barbara is definitely a global productivity expert. And we're really excited to share these secrets with you. So Barbara will be doing most of the talking. I may jump in here and there to add my comments. And if you guys have any questions or comments throughout, those of you that are on Zoom with us, feel free to message us in the Q&A box. And if you're on Facebook, go ahead and pop the questions in there, and we'll get somebody in there taking a look at those as well. So Barbara, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I have to mention, Andrea, I see you have your on-air A in the background. I love it.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I love it too. I have to remember to turn it off so the battery doesn't die. But when I'm on the air, I love having that behind me.
I think it's so cool. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very excited about today. Andrea and I have talked about this event, particularly for a couple of weeks. And I never know what's going to happen because things always change the same day. But I knew it was going to be important. And I want to start with a disclaimer. And that disclaimer is that what I'm going to talk about today comes from my perspective as a follower of Jesus Christ. We are at that time, we call it the reason for the season. I've always thought it's interesting that if you look in history, there's no event in history that has had a greater impact on the arts than any other event. All the music and the paintings and the writings and all of that. And to me, that's a confirmation that what an important event this is. Our pastor has been doing, or is doing, it just started last Sunday, so I've only heard the first sermon. I can't wait to hear the rest of the season, the rest of the series. But it's been called Refocus on Jesus. And his last Sunday, he talked about Jesus is surprised, or God is surprising. And his biggest surprise, of course, was Jesus, and is really the reason that I exist as a business owner. Well, it's where I exist as a person, but certainly as a business owner. When I started in residential organizing 40 years ago, I would pray before I went into somebody's house that other people would feel the love of Jesus from me, whether or not I ever mentioned his name. And for probably 3 decades, I didn't mention his name very much because I was so afraid that I would offend people. And I guess one of the things that happens when you get older, I'll be 73 this month, is that you get to the point you don't care. It's like, okay, I've been around long enough. I can say this. If you don't like it, that's just fine, and that's something that's very exciting to me. I want to share these secrets, and why I think they're powerful was confirmed. Perry Marshall is a coach of mine. I've had the pleasure of meeting him and working with him on a couple of occasions. And he's a very intelligent man. He's written a book recently called Evolution 2.0, which is quite fascinating. It talks about you can actually believe in creationism, as I do as a Bible scholar, but you can also believe in evolution. And it's quite an amazing book if that's a topic that's of any interest to you. But one of the things he recommended to us in our coaching program is that we should read things that were written before the printing press. And when he first said that, it's like, oh, okay, what does that mean? Well, we're going to talk a little bit later. One of our secrets, we're going to talk about exactly why that's true. Andrea, I just got a notice saying sound is unstable.
Yeah, I was just messaging back to, is anybody else having any trouble with their sound? Just let us know, because Kat said the sound is distorted. Is anybody else having any trouble? Okay, Kelly says sounds fine. Okay, so Kat, maybe log out and try logging back in. It could be an internet connection on your end. Everybody else is saying it sounds good. So usually that's what it is. It's something on your end if that's the case. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks everybody. Go ahead, Barbara.
Okay, so this are the 5 divine secrets. And the reason I call them divine is because I think they're God-given to me. And the first one is, if you want to fly, the cocoon has got to go. I don't know whose quote that was. I probably should have looked it up to see, but I don't really know. But I loved it because it's so true. I mean, if you think about a butterfly, you think about a cocoon, how ugly a cocoon is. And then a butterfly, how absolutely beautiful it is. And butterflies are just something I just love. I have butterfly bushes out in the back, and I always enjoy them when the butterflies are flocking around them. And basically what that means in business is you have to be willing to take risks. That's all there is to it. And one of the questions when we are interviewing people to be in the Certified Productive Environment Specialist training, one of the things we always want to find out in our discussions is how big of a risk taker. Because if you're afraid of taking a risk, then being a successful entrepreneur, you can dabble. And in fact, that's what a lot of people do, like people who are in network marketing things where, okay, they say they're a business owner and, you know, they go to network groups and they say they're entrepreneurs, but they don't really take a whole lot of risks. And as a result, they don't get very far. How far you go is directly related to how willing you are to take risks. I have taken so many risks, many of which have failed in the 40 years that I've been in business. Some of them I've taken more than once and they failed more than once. But here's the good news. Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good for those who love Christ and are called according to his word. So if you take a risk in business, and if you're doing it because you want to do what God called you to do, and there's no question in my mind that God called me to do this. This is why I'm so excited after 40 years, more excited than ever about this. I think the opportunity is bigger than ever. If you don't believe it, here's a very interesting thing. And Andrew, I didn't have a chance to show this, even share it with you, but there is a company. Oh, I had it written down. In Focus, I think it's called. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Bear with me a second. No, that isn't it. There's a company that, wait, I got to pull up that because it's so good. I know I can't do that. Yeah, here it is. See I have to show you how I found this. There it is in my date file today. I just forgot to take it out. There's a company called Inscape, INSCAPE, and they are promoting the Messiest desk in the world contest. Messiest desk in North America contest, which I thought was really interesting. It says, we are extending our contest to find the messiest desk in North America. Think you or someone you know might have it? Click the link below to email a photo of what you believe. Now, the interesting thing is you're sending a photo of somebody else's office. So the criteria for submission is the desk must be an office environment. You have to have the name and the email of the desk owner. And of course, you have to ask their permission and then a brief description of why you think it's the messiest desk ever. So at any rate, obviously, this is an issue if a big PR company is doing something like that. And the other reason that it is such a huge opportunity now is that, as many of you on this call know, we have never really solved the problem in business of organizing paper. We just didn't. And a lot of companies said, oh, well, we'll just go paperless and then we won't have to worry about it. Well, in fact, what we're doing is creating a bigger, faster, hidden mess. And many companies still have paper left over. So although they have gone paperless, they've stopped it, or maybe they're using less paper, they haven't decided with what to do with the old paper. And we had a client last week with that very situation. They were a nonprofit organization moving to a new location next year, and they had 3 rooms full of file cabinets, and a couple of employees who had been there over 20 years, whose files represented their legacy. And we went in and did one of our productivity days. And at the end of the day, it wasn't even a whole day. We thought we'd be there till 4. We were done by 2:30. We had emptied 13 file cabinets and 400 notebooks. But what was most exciting was that at the beginning of the day, the employees were like, oh, I got real work to do today. And besides that, I don't want to throw away anything. And we even fed them. We started the day with food because that always helps. And they were still kind of down in the dumps. At the end of the day, I wish I had remembered to do some testimonials for people. They were like euphoric. I mean, literally, people were just euphoric. And one of the employees who's been there 22 years that I had a conversation with that said she was literally crying because she was afraid she was going to lose her job because of not being able to get rid of this paper. And later on, she said, nobody could believe that I really did get rid of it, because we addressed the one issue that makes all the difference in the world. We've always said clutter is postponed decisions. That's a truth. That's a divine secret. It's a truth. So first of all, no one's been taught how to make those decisions. So that's what we did. We did a seminar called Sometimes It Takes an Expert to Take Out the Trash, in which we taught them how to make decisions. But the reason it's so hard to make decisions is our emotion. It's our fear that we'll make a mistake, our fear that we'll forget something, a fear that will offend someone, a fear that we'll need it again. And when we address those things, everything's changed, and it certainly did for them. So number one is, if you want to fly, the cocoon has to go. So they took a risk and they got a great win. The second divine secret is first things first. And to put it very simply, I believe it's God, and then family, and then business. One of the things that no doubt has made it possible for me to continue this long. And let me just say, if you haven't known me very long, you may look at me and say, okay, this is a naturally organized person. She's got many blessings and life is easy for her. And, this hasn't been so hard. Well, Andrea's been knowing me for a long time, and she has been on the phone with me many hours when I have been crying because I've been so worried, concerned, frustrated, depressed, whatever. It has not been easy. But what I hope you will take hope from is that it keeps getting better. And I keep learning. Every risk that I've ever taken, I've learned something from that I could apply the next time. But the one thing, I don't know, probably now it's been 15 years, I don't know, that I was introduced to the very famous book, Jesus Calling, which is by Sarah Young. It's very popular. I started with the physical book. I now have it on my app. I use it every single day. And I committed about 15 years ago that the first thing I would do when I got out of bed was I would read Jesus Calling. And that has grown into being more and more. I'm now very into meditation. I have a wonderful meditation site now. They don't have an app yet. I think they're working on one, which will be wonderful, but it's meditateonchrist.com with Dean Davis. I do it every day, first thing in the morning, and you can do it for as little as 10 minutes. I have reached the point now that I spend an hour to 2 hours every morning, first thing, before I touch my computer, before I look at my email, before I look at social media, before I do any of those other things. So putting God first. Secondly is your family. The reason that I became an entrepreneur, and I suspect for those of you who are on the call who are entrepreneurs, many of you have the same reason, and that was flexibility. I did it because I had 3 adopted orphan children, one with special needs, My husband worked for a nonprofit and didn't make enough for us to live in New York City where we lived at the time. So I was like, okay, I need to provide money to our family, but I want my family first. So along comes entrepreneurship. I once read that you are ready to be an entrepreneur when you're willing to work harder for yourself than you did for your boss. And I think that's really great advice. The difference is you're working when you want to work. You can work all kinds of hours, hopefully not 24 hours. And many entrepreneurs work too many hours, which ends up being their demise. But you have flexibility in when you work, and you're working for yourself. And you have stability, because as long as you are willing to stick with it, you're going to succeed. And now in this day and age, so many people come to us either because they've just lost their job, even though they might have been there for a decade or more, or they're afraid they're going to lose their job, or they're not appreciated, they don't feel appreciated, or they feel frustrated because they see how broken the business is that they're employed by, and they want to fix it, but they're not in a position to do so. So it's very exciting to them to leave that business, become an entrepreneur, and in some cases go back to their previous employee as a consultant in a way that they really can fix the business. So step number 2, first things first, God, then family, and then business. Step number 3, or secret number 3, is the truth shall set you free. I think it was Mark Twain that said that first. I'm not really sure. Remember at the beginning of the call, I said to you that Perry Mason had said to us that we should read things that were printed before the printing press, which of course is the Bible, but it's also the Bhagavad Gita or Buddha's writings or anything like that. Why is that? Because it's the truth. It's the things that are the truth that survive. So we can read books and things like that. They may be based on truths, but I love reading the Bible because I believe it is the truth. And Perry suggested, and I belong to a group called Fellowship for Companies for Christ International. And one of the things that we talk about all the time is running our businesses on biblical principles, because biblical principles, whether or not you are a Christian, are still good principles. They are, because they're the truth. And when you tell the truth and you act on the way that is truthful, and one of the things we talk about is that Proverbs has 31 chapters and there's 31 days in the month. So if you're not sure how to get started and you want to get started with looking at the truth, it's very easy to put the YouVersion app on your phone. If you're not familiar with it, just go to Bible and you'll see the YouVersion app. I just love it. I use it every day, multiple times. Go to Proverbs, and right from your phone, you can get that one chapter and just read that one chapter a day. And it's a great way to start the day, and it doesn't take very long at all. I guarantee, hands down, that if you will start your day being alone with yourself, with God, and with no social media for at least 20 minutes, it will change your life forever. Divine secret number 4 is together we are better. As many of you know, when I was president of NAPO, National Association of Productivity and Organizing Consultants, back in mid-90s, my theme was together we are better. And it's been my life story. I love working with other organizers, whether or not they are part of our program, because I believe that success, and not just success, but change. When you look at the problems in the world, I love to watch 60 Minutes and CBS Sunday Morning, because both of them often have stories about individuals and companies that are doing incredible things. They are solving problems in ways that you can just never imagine. And without exception, every time, they're not doing it alone. They're doing it with other people. And one of the things that is a challenge for people in the organizing industry, it was for me for a long time, is like, there was nowhere to go. I mean, when I started 42 years ago, I mean, nobody heard of it. In fact, people thought when I said I was an organizing consultant, they thought I was a labor organizer, because that's the only, with organizing, labor organizing was the only thing that anybody knew. And some of you on this call are too young to even know what I'm talking about, but that's the way it was. So it's not about, when you are in business, it's not about getting a bigger piece of the pie. It's about making the pie bigger. Because one of the things that we teach, and I know Andrea in the coaching for people who are in our CPS program, the one thing that we have the most difficult time getting people to do, and the thing that is absolutely the most important, is focusing. Not trying to be all things to all people. And yet that is where it isn't just organizing consultants. You can look at it in any industry. You can look at it in a restaurant even. The restaurant, there are exceptions, but generally the restaurants that really thrive are the ones that have the very few things. If you're a follower of the Prophet, I love to listen to Prophet. And when he talks about businesses, he often is talking about them narrowing down. He'll go into a menu and he'll rip off 3/4 of the things on the menu board and say, come up with something very specific. So it's about you're identifying what's really important to you and then partnering with other people that are complementary to you. So let me give you an example. One, my particular personal interest right now are businesses that are relocating. Because when businesses are relocating, they always have to deal with those decisions. Now, unfortunately, what happens in probably 80% of the cases is the decisions don't get made. So those postponed decisions get put in boxes, paid for, shipped to a new location, and real estate costs paid for something that nobody's ever going to use, or put in offsite storage, which is why within 10 miles of our house, I think there's 15 storage units or something like that. So it really is. So in my case, partnering with someone who's in commercial real estate, because people who are in commercial real estate know who's going to move. So, and it's a win-win for them because they can go to their prospect and say, hey, we can help you save on moving costs. Well, they're going to like that as well. So it's just one small example of Together We're Better. And then divine secret number 5 is probably my favorite. It will all turn out in the end. If it doesn't, it isn't the end yet. And as a Christian, I believe this world is not my home. I remember in my 20s reading Robert Scott Peck's book, The Road Less Traveled. I think the first sentence is, life is difficult. And I remember being so disappointed. It's like, oh, I don't want to hear that. I mean, if I do things right and I'm, quote, a good girl, like I was taught to be, raised on the farm in Nebraska, life is going to be easy. Well, tain't so, McGee, as my mother used to say. But this world is not my home. So it's my job to be as peaceful as I can be here, to keep moving forward and to do the very best I can. But to take heart that it isn't the end. And it's also true in entrepreneurship, because as I said earlier, every time I've taken a risk and it hasn't worked out, I've learned something from the risk so that I can go back and do something different. And I'm going to close my part of the presentation, and then we'll do Q&A, because that's my favorite part. I don't even know how much time we have. I have no idea how long I've been talking. But I have made arrangements. I said I want to give a speech when I'm 100, and that idea came from George Burns, who booked a speech at a performance at the Palladium, and said he couldn't die before he was 100 because he'd made an engagement at the Palladium. He didn't make it to 100. I think it was 96. But I thought, okay, I'm going to make a goal of giving a speech when I'm 100. I don't know what it'll be about, but it'll probably be about organizing, since that's about all I ever talk about. But I, in the meantime, know that may not be true. And I've made arrangements. And I've also, one of the reasons I partnered with Andrea was that my passion was that Productive Environment Institute would exist after I was gone. So I'm very confident that if I died tomorrow for some reason, that Andrea would carry on. And that makes me very, very happy. I'm very proud that is true. So Andrea, I just want to publicly thank you for being that for me, because it means more than I could ever say.
Thank you.
But I've made arrangements to have my body donated to University of Chapel Hill for medical research. And when they're done with the body, there's ashes left over. And I was home on the farm in Nebraska recently, and my cousin was there, who's much younger than I am. And I told her, I was trying to get everything in order for when I die, and I don't know what to do with the ashes. And I said, I'd really like them to be back here, but I don't know if anybody would be around or whatever. She says, well, I'll be around, so I'll do it. So we made arrangements for the ashes to be buried in the cemetery where my family, my grandparents and parents and brother and people are. And I want on the tombstone, she gave others hope. My ultimate hope is Jesus Christ, and I hope that other people will feel his love through me. But Andrea, probably a decade ago, came up with the acronym for HOPE, which I just love and which is so appropriate for this call. And that is help others pursue entrepreneurship. Because it is, in fact, entrepreneurial companies that are changing the world. It's not the big publicly held companies. I mean, they are changing the world in many ways. They're changing the world in many ways, but the smaller ones are the ones that are able to react and take advantage of that and help with the passion that is so deep in Productive Environment Institute. Our passion is helping people accomplish their work and enjoy their lives. And that's what entrepreneurial companies do. They are able to solve problems very quickly because they can move on a dime, and they can be a place where employees can accomplish their work and enjoy their lives. And that's what we want to help you do, because we just think it's very important.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Barbara. That was great. Couple of things that I do want to have a little bit of discussion. So if you guys are good on time for a few minutes, it's just 30 minutes in, so we're good, I think. First of all, I'm going to send you guys a link right now to that document that I was pulling up. So I made notes there, so you guys can have that document. And Barbara, I'm going to actually go back over to the document because I want to have a quick discussion about number one. If you want to fly, the cocoon has got to go. And one of the things that we hear from our clients, from our consultants, from ourselves, sometimes the things that stop us from doing the things that are important to us is fear, right? And a cocoon protects you. A cocoon it's comfortable, it's warm, it's cozy, but it also it keeps us safe, right? So if you want to fly, the cocoon has got to go. So what do you think, as it relates to productivity and organization and systems and clutter, what do we do to take that first step to get out of the cocoon to start getting rid of some of the stuff that's holding us back?
Oh, that's a great question. And there's a very easy, a clear answer, but not an easy answer. And that is you find your why. Simon Sinek wrote the book, The Power of Why, and that is so true. I mean, I don't care what it is that you want to do, whether you want to lose weight or get a new job or get a better relationship or whatever else it is, there has to be a why. And we use that all the time when working with clients. When they call us to say, okay, we want you to help us get organized or be more productive, we always say, why? Because organizing in and of itself has no value. And there are, in fact, people who spend all their lives organizing things and never have anything to show for it. But if your why is strong enough, so my why is I want to be a philanthropist. Now, my business coach told me that I actually am a philanthropist because I do give in many different ways, money, but when I thought of philanthropist, I thought of someone who gave tens of thousands and millions of dollars. And I've never reached that point. But I think the point is that it's a mindset, it's an idea. And so she told me to quit saying I want to be a philanthropist and say I am a philanthropist, which I did recently, a nonprofit organization. I always do a pro bono every year. I pick one nonprofit organization. And so there was one organization that reached out to me And I said to them, because I am a philanthropist, I do this. So just saying it out of my mouth. So the important thing, and I would say one of the highest priorities for you to do the rest of this year and at the beginning of next year is to think about your why. Why do you want to lose weight or be an entrepreneur or move or get married or have a child or find a new job or clear the clutter off your counter, whatever, because that's the only thing, that's the thing that matters. That's what the risk of, the reason you are willing to risk it is because the why prevents you from giving up.
Yeah. And then that it always goes back to clutter is postponed decisions too. You know, the clutter it represents postponing the decision to make that change in your life, to get out of the cocoon, so to speak, right?
Right, absolutely.
So, yeah. So one thing I didn't put on the sheet yet, but I'm going to add, if you guys over the holidays, if you have some downtime and you want to work through some of that clutter with us, not live, but you can actually watch the replay of our most recent Tame Your Paper Tiger live that we did. So you can go to tameyourpapertiger.com and you can sign up and you'll get the replay. And you can just, I suggest that you pretend that we're live and actually turn it on with a pile of paper in front of you, and that's something that you've been postponing. And actually I've talked to several people that were on live with us last time, and they said, some of them said they weren't doing paper, but they were doing other things. Somebody was doing boxes in the garage and they were listening to us. And somebody else was doing, it's just some other things that wasn't necessarily a pile of paper. So if there's something that you've been putting off and you want just some motivation and connection to go through that, then I highly recommend that you sign up for that. And you can actually, we take about a 10-minute block of time during that webinar where you actually do sort and go through the things. Because it's a replay, you can actually take a little bit longer if you want. If you get into it and you want to take 30 minutes to do that, you can stop it, do your sorting, and then turn it back on. So definitely check that out if you want to do that. The next one I wanted to mention, I'm just thinking this, I don't know if you want any discussion on this, Barbara, but number 2, first things first, God, family, business. That just made me think again about, I've heard the phrase that God is a God of order. He orders the seasons, the tide. I live here at the beach. I mean, the tide it's ordered. It's all very systemized. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think there's all kinds of research that supports the power of order. If you've done anything with feng shui talks so much about order, which I think is just incredibly, I'm not a feng shui practitioner, but I love the idea that it talks about supporting air, allowing air and light and sound to move freely, because it has to be kind of in an orderly way. And, one of the things is sometimes people think that I'm naturally organized, which I'm not. And I always tell people, if you think that, if your office looks like the messiest desk in North America, and we can go in and do a total office transformation, and in 8 hours, we can create a miracle. Does that mean that your desk is going to be perfectly neat every day after that? Absolutely not. So one of the things we tell people is that you need to identify what level of clutter you are willing to live with. And different people have different criteria. My personal level is 1 week worth. That's it. So if you come into my house during the middle of the week and you look around, either my home or my office, you might find dishes in the sink or laundry in the laundry room that's on the floor because my husband somehow or another can't seem to get it in the basket, which is a whole nother story. Or, my desk might be it will be cluttered. I mean, in the middle of the desk, if you come into my office on a Wednesday or Thursday, I can absolutely guarantee you that my office is going to look like a mess. But Friday, and actually today's Friday, and it's all clear because I did it before this call today. Friday, everything has to be put away, and has to be put away and it's in the right place. And it has to take me less than 30 minutes to do it. And if it takes longer than 30 minutes, then I know something with the system. We use systems, saving you space, time, energy, and money. Something's wrong with the system. Something is too complicated or something. Or maybe it could be that I was sick a couple of days and it got worse than usual. So, okay, that's fine. That's perfectly okay. But it really has to do it. Now, I have another we had a client where he really likes everything neat, but hates to pick things up. It's like, okay, he likes it neat, but he hates to pick up the clutter. And so we cleaned it all up. We were there 4 hours, got a place for everything was placed. I followed up. Was it going? Well, no, not really well. So I told him what I just told you. And he said, oh, I know. He said, I should clean it up first thing when I come in the office. He said it would only take me 2 to 3 minutes. And then he said, I'd feel better because I hate doing it. And so Brian Tracy's book is Eat That Frog, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I hate doing this, but if I take 2 to 3 minutes and do it, it's done. And now I feel good. And I have a productive environment and I don't have the clutter. So that's what you want to decide, is what level of clutter are you willing to live with and how long are you willing to invest in cleaning it up? If you're not willing to do those things, then it means your why isn't big enough. It means you really don't care, or it means that there's some emotional block. And that's something you should really talk to someone about. I mean, it really is. It's you're sabotaging yourself. If you have clutter around and you know it's a problem and you're not willing to do something about it, then that means you're sabotaging yourself. And the question is why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that actually brings me to the next one. Number 3, the truth shall set you free. You guys that have been on here, you've been on our calls before, us. We talk about our productive environment scorecard. And that is a way that you can get to the truth right now. Like, what is it that, what is your score, and have things changed? I know many of you on here have completed that before. Barbara, you always do yours at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, right? Somewhere around the change of the year, right?
Every year in January, I have a printed out copy just so that it reminds me, because that's how I do things.
Yeah.
And
so you guys,
and every year I do it again, and it's going to change. You get better in some areas and worse in others. I mean, because life is difficult.
That's right. It's not always going to be the same. But if the score is going backwards or it stays the same for a really long time, and you're not making any change, but you really want to, then we should talk about it, because like Barbara said, there may be some kind of block, something that's keeping you from moving forward. Go ahead.
And I never worry about the total score, really. I look at the individual scores, because if you look at, there's 15 questions on our scorecard. We have a specific solution for 14 of those. The 15th one basically says, how happy are you with your life? And if you're not happy with your life, we're going to ask you why, because we may find out that why has something to do with one of the other 14, and we may be able to do something about it. Sometimes it isn't. And so we'll say, we know that we're not the right fit for everyone. But for all the other 14, we do have a solution. And sometimes what's exciting is the solution to that problem might be a 30-minute laser coaching call, which won't cost you much at all. It won't take much time, but it could change your life forever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Speaking of, a couple quick things, and then we're gonna wrap. First of all, Barbara, Jane said that George Burns did live to 100.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
Yep.
I didn't think he did. Well, that's awesome. Well, good. That gives me even more hope.
That's right. That's awesome. And Leslie said, hope, love it. And thank you for all you do. So thank you, Leslie, for that comment. Yeah. HOPE. I do want to just quickly mention too, some of our specialists that are on this call today. And also I just put a link here to Productive Environment Network. You may have been in there, you may have been a member, but you haven't popped in lately. I really encourage you to go in there over the next couple of weeks. Around the holidays, there is hustle and bustle, but there's also a lot of downtime and time to reflect and maybe read some things. There are some really great posts in there from Barbara, from some of our certified productive environment specialists, and from we have a guest post from Georgia Patrick, one of our members, and it is phenomenal. She talks about her 30-year productivity marathon.
Yeah, it's really, gosh, I do encourage you to read that article. It is just amazing. And we've known each other for decades now, and we've shared a productivity journey together, and her article is just awesome. So don't miss it, and feel free to share it with other people, because it looks at productivity in a very different way.
Absolutely. In fact, I'll add it to this page in a second before we get off of here, so you guys will have it. But I do just want to mention some of our specialists that are on the call, because we do have consultants in different states and, you know, around the country, and in Japan as well, you know, other countries. So, but the ones that are on this call now, I just want to mention by name. We have Monique Pyle. She's in Texas. She's our newest. She's actually just started training last week. Kelly Fast is in North Carolina. Marge, my mom, hi mom, is in North Carolina. Elizabeth Hagan is in South Dakota. Catherine Avery is in Connecticut. Judy Girton is in Massachusetts, and Kathy Music is in Illinois. And we have others all over the country. If I missed anybody that was on here, I'll get you next time. But I just want to always mention where our consultants are, but we also have consultants that work virtually. So if, you know, you do get to the point where you are ready for some help, let me know and we will connect you with somebody that can help you. I mean, this is what we live for. This is what our consultants live for. They love, this is their passion. When Barbara says, what is your why? Why do you own your business? Why do you, work where you work or do what you do? This is why our consultants do what they do, because they have a passion for helping you guys. Yes, where you can get the scorecard. Marilyn, go to ProductiveEnvironment.com, just the main front page of our site. In fact, I'm going to go over there now because there's a really cool video of Barbara on that page. So ProductiveEnvironment.com. Boom. There is a 3-minute video that, wait until you get off of this webinar before you watch it. But right here, there's a video here that says, get your productive environment score. Watch this 3-minute video. So watch this video with Barbara and see what, if those things resonate with you. And again, and then there's a link right here. You would just click to open the scorecard and it opens up a little form and it asks you to not be overwhelming. We ask you one question at a time. One question appears at a time. So you can just answer each question, 1 to 10 and move through and then submit it. And I believe when you get at the end, you'll get an email with a summary of your scores and a link to schedule a call so we can talk about it and kind of point you in the right direction on some resources for you. So,
Andrew, I want to read what Catherine wrote because it's so powerful. Catherine Avery is one of our consultants, and she says, I had a huge win yesterday. I just got back from my license renewal, which includes verification with blood from your firstborn. Just kidding. Last night, my sweet and naturally organized husband was helping me get all the papers together. He was so worried, but I went to my personal papers finding system, immediately located the file, and had everything I needed at my fingertips in 2 minutes. This is a whole new and amazing world for me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is exactly why I love helping others, for that ease and happiness and calm. Amen. That is what we're about. And it is possible. In 40 years, I've never seen anyone who wasn't able to get organized if their why was big enough. So we would love to help you. Thanks for listening today. And I hope you have a great holiday season.
Thank you guys so much. All right. Take care, everybody. And I'm going to add that link to that document. So make sure you grab that doc. All right. Take care. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you guys in January. Bye, everybody.
Bye.